Aloha and welcome. My name is Taylor Norris and I am a eclectic astrologer. That's the best term I can really say because I really draw from all different astrological traditions, and I'm also a Reiki master teacher. And in today's video, we are going to be exploring Saturn entering Aries, a little bit about what this transit is about, and also I'm teaching a class to really celebrate this collective celestial rite of passage that we are all experiencing with Saturn changing sign. And so I'm going to talk more also about what is going to be covered in that class so you can feel into if that class is something that aligns for you and is calling to you. So I'm going to share my screen and we will look at the chart of May 24th when Saturn enters Aries. So this is the chart. Saturn enters Aries May 24th at 5:35 p.m. Hawaii time. And you can see Saturn here down in the fifth house at 0 degrees, 0 minutes of Aries zodiac sign, joining Neptune, joining Ceres. And I really, really invite you to do some kind of ritual, do some kind of acknowledgement, your own authentic way to engage this energy. Because I just noticed it this morning. It's like every time I look at this chart, I notice different things. There's so much there. The day of this ingress, the moon will be at 6 degrees Taurus, 13 minutes. The moment of the ingress, the moon will be at that degree in Taurus, and it will be opposing asteroid goddess Vesta at 7 degrees Scorpio, 5 minutes. Scorpio, very ritualistic type of zodiac sign. Vesta, the goddess asteroid and the goddess coming from the protectress of the hearth and the sacred fire at the heart of Rome. The Vestal Virgins were the ones who were tending the sacred fire, keeping the light on, and really the spiritual embodiment guides for ancient Rome. So with the moon in opposition to Vesta, Vesta being in Scorpio, it really is like this sacred moment to engage in some kind of ritual. And this could be as simple as, since it is the moon, gazing at the moon and just knowing that on this night, May 24th, could be May 25th if you're in a different part of the world, that Saturn is now in Aries. It can be really, really simple, really, really authentic, however that works for you. And this particular aspect is in part of a T square. So it's the opposition part of a T square with Varuna at 8 degrees and 8 minutes. Oh my gosh, that's like a super sacred 8 infinity numerology portal of magic coming through Varuna. Varuna is a dwarf planet beyond the orbit of Neptune and Pluto, that in Alan Clay's research, and certainly in my own personal experience, this dwarf planet Varuna is the higher octave of Saturn, a planet of structure, of our relationship to authority, both external authority and in a more conscious manner, an inner authority. So Varuna, dwarf planet, signifying mastery consciousness in this D square with Vesta and Moon. It's like definitely we're engaging and welcoming in our inner authority, our mastery consciousness. And like I said, to do some kind of ritual, this could be something on your own, it could be something in a group, as Varuna is in opposition with Pluto in Aquarius, 3 degrees, 43 minutes retrograde. Both Pluto and Vesta are retrograde. And, this is really a very, very dynamic moment we have here. So I wanted to share with you that little bit. Find your way to engage. If you want to be in supportive circle, like I said, I am teaching a class where we will be in circle with this energy, with the astrology teachings, and doing a Reiki journey that we're going to get to explore Saturn. So, next, I'm going to share with you a screen from the slideshow I will be presenting in that class. And on this screen, you can see the same chart. It just doesn't have Vesta and Varuna drawn in. Saturn Ingress Aries, the power of your inner authority, your healthy and healed, pure ego. To me, this is what Saturn in Aries is all about, especially as Saturn in Aries is co-present and in its conjunction, moving closer and closer into conjunction with Neptune also in Aries. And you can see them together at the bottom of this chart. This is such a signifier of leadership, of spiritual leadership, of clarity, of dissolving illusions and delusions we have around our relationship to authority, our relationship to power, our relationship to spirituality, our relationship to ego, all of these different things, and really embracing your own authentic leadership, your own authentic inner authority, and your own authentic ego that is necessary to walk this life in a physical, ascending, but still physical body within personality constructs on this earth plane. Yes, continuously healing. Yes, continuously inviting in more light and enlightenment and all the different things we work on spiritual paths, healthier relationship, healthier lifestyle, being of service. And yet, still, this ego is necessary. And I think this is part of the gift of the Aries zodiac sign, is to be in that clear, authentic sense of self. And Aries, guided by planet Mars, having to do with our own personal energy, our own personal motivation, our drive, our ambition, our sense of direction, that we are in this discovery process of what that is and what that means for each of us. And with Saturn in Aries, it feels like there is going to be a lot more of a clearer sense of direction moving forward. But Saturn and Neptune combo, I have this conjunction natally in my chart. Those of us born in 1989 have this conjunction in Capricorn zodiac sign, in Saturn sign. There is a real learning curve to mastering these two energies together. And I'm not saying that I haven't mastered. I am really learning this, and in the process with everybody else. What does it mean to be in your inner authority? What does it mean to be in your own authentic leadership? What does it mean to be spirit, Neptune, in a physical body, Saturn, in this material reality? Also, Saturn, what does it mean to live a fearless life that matters and leaves a positive impact for yourself and for future generations, and is also honoring of the past? These are some of the questions and the opportunities with these two planets coming together, really 2025, 2026, exactly in February. And this year, 2025, so much about this transition between the very end with Pisces, the final degrees of Pisces, and these very first degrees of Aries, that both Saturn and Neptune are guiding us through this transitional process. So if you are not super clear, and if the moment Saturn enters Aries or even the rest of May, you're not feeling super clear, that's okay. And to really be in that process of transition and be graceful with yourself and graceful with others and compassionate for yourself and others, as we are all learning how to be in our authentic leadership. So that's a little bit about the general meaning. Saturn will be in Aries until April of 2028. So after what I'm feeling is like after the Saturn Neptune conjunction February of 2026, into the rest of 2026, we're going to have a greater sense of clarity, a greater sense of direction, a greater sense of like, okay, my ego has just dissolved and like reformed itself. My life may have just dissolved and kind of reformed itself. And there's a sense of spiritual building, a sense of building a life, building an identity that can be new, that can be fresh. It is a sense of being reborn here. And that as 2026 progresses and Saturn moves further and further away from Neptune, there will be a growing sense of clarity, of power and empowerment in that spiritual direction being more applied to your life, yourself, the material reality, the material world. So I think it will get easier and easier, but really between now and February of 2026, it's like we are in this alchemical, transitional, transformational process of becoming the new human beings. And you can see in this ingress chart, I also included the galactic chart. You can see there are so many different star alignments. It's like this whole table is almost full. So we are connecting to ourselves as galactic beings, as cosmic beings, as multiple dimensional beings, as beings capable of traveling and navigating multiple levels of consciousness, multiple dimensions, both on Earth and then beyond Earth as well. And things like space travel, things like, what we've seen in science fiction are going to become more and more a part of our reality and awakening to our true nature. And so much of this Saturn and Aries also feels like the ancient and ancestral and indigenous wisdom, and how the ancients knew that we were connected to the stars and came from the stars and were working with the stars and star beings and planetary consciousness and writing these stories of the planets and the stars and making meaning and knowing this in themselves. I feel like so much of that ancient wisdom, indigenous wisdom, is going to be waking up within ourselves and our bodies and our beings, and it's going to be impossible to ignore. And at the same time, this future self awakening process is going to also be unfolding with Pluto in Aquarius, Uranus entering Gemini, and with these early degrees Aries being about this new cycle, being about this rebirth, being about the pioneers of the future and the new ways, and showing the ways of the new earth humans and how we can live together in peace and love and harmony and coherence and clarity. And the Saturn Neptune cycle, just to circle back on that, is a synodic cycle. So, as I said, these planets were last in a conjunction, they were last together in 1989. And this cycle seems to be very connected to Russia and Russian history. And this is when the Berlin Wall fell and the Soviet Union was going through its own alchemical process, and long wars were ending and peace was being initiated. So this is very hopeful for the world peace that we've all been so wanting and desiring and longing for. And certainly, as way showers, as beings on our own spiritual journeys, we can empower this peace within ourselves, being merciful to ourselves, being loving to ourselves, and healing any kind of battle scars and battle tendencies and inner conflicts and conflicts in our daily lives, that we can choose grace and love and peace and harmony and the higher frequencies of inviting that love, inviting that compassion, inviting divine harmony within ourselves. So very, very interesting to see that. And definitely with all this Aries activations, like in our own ways, really embodying that peace and that power that each of us have as co-creators. And I just see this as such a big multi-galactic awakening with these stars. We will go into more of this in the class, but just so, so profound. One other thing to mention in this chart too is Jupiter is squaring the nodes when Saturn is entering Aries. So engaging our studies, Gemini, expanding our consciousness, gathering facts, gathering information, gathering data, and really being optimistic and hopeful and seeing this as an adventure as well. That was something that was really coming through this morning before recording this video, is the adventure of your sacred path, the adventure of your sacred journey as a earth human being in this lifetime, leaning into that, because so much of this too, and so much of what we'll be doing in the class too, is like healing that resistance to our inner authority, to our mastery, to Saturn. All of that is really up for healing and letting go of this resistance. And I think this is what Neptune is also helping us do with this next year until February 20th, 2026. And then a little ways beyond that, Neptune helping us dissolve our resistance to how much power each of us really has in this sacred moment of rebirth and co-creating the life and the reality of your dreams is very much a part of Saturn Neptune conjunction as well. So, just a few messages I wrote down this morning about Saturn and Aries. The transits are collective celestial rites of passage. This is why I've been guided to teach classes with the transits and come together in groups in supportive communities. They are collective rites of passage, and they are engaging with us in individual and unique ways, depending on our birth charts, depending on our own natal charts and our individual blueprint. And they're activating us in individual ways based on that natal chart blueprint. Saturn in Aries is about trusting yourself, your inner authority, your authentic spiritual leadership, and your sacred path for this life. A clearer sense of soul and spirit and all the mystical and how that applies to you in your life. Saturn, the planet of manifestation and material reality. It is a process of transition between now and February 2026 and will be clearer and more crystallized as 2026 progresses, as I was saying. And to repeat those dates, Saturn will be in Aries from May 2025 until April 2028. And Saturn will go retrograde in July and will re-enter Pisces. So for the second half of the year, Saturn will be back in Pisces and then re-enter Aries in early 2026 before making Saturn's conjunction with Neptune February 20th, 2026. Instinctual, primal, ancient wisdom, indigenous wisdom that is informing and co-creating the future. The ancient and the future embodied courageously and powerfully. And as I said, with Vesta on the Ingress day in that very, very powerful grand cross. It's a fixed grand cross with Varuna, with the moon, with Pluto and Aquarius. Find some way to be in your power and engage co-creatively with a simple ritual of devotion, Vesta. It can be as simple as noticing the moon and acknowledging that Saturn is now in Aries and you are saying yes to your power, your leadership, your inner authority, your mastery, into your sacred path as a way shower on an earthly journey. So as I said, I will be teaching a class about this transit and coming together and holding space for us in a sacred circle to come together and really invite in the higher frequencies of this transit. Saturn Ingress Aries, courageous spirit embodied. And in our Reiki journey, we will be really receiving that courageous spirit embodied, the blessings and the gifts of Saturn and Aries. So the class is on Saturday, May 24th, 8 a.m. Hawaii time. It will be recorded for those who are unable to attend live. That's totally fine. You will receive the full class and the recordings of the whole class, and it will be in a private group hosted on my website where you can visit and revisit those recordings as many times as you like after class. So you can learn more about class at the link that I will post below this video in the description box, and you can read more about it. I am going to just look at the PowerPoint and I will share with you some of what is being covered so that you know what to expect. And it's early enough right now. I may add different things in, additional things in, but this is what I'm planning to teach on so far. So we will look at the Saturn cycle, the chart that I showed you, looking more at the galactic astrology and the star alignments and reading into that chart more. So there's a lot there. And I will also, so this is the second class in a row that I've taught on Saturn. And so for those of you who may not have taken that first class, you will receive some slides about Saturn's astronomy, for example, Saturn and astrology, and Saturn's physical characteristics. Some of the slides that I shared in that class, although in this class we won't go over those. It'll be new information so that it's brand new material. But you will also have that resource so that if you want to look at Saturn's astronomy and some of the basics of Saturn's astrology, that information will be available for you in a very extensive and beautiful slide presentation that you can download. Saturn has a bunch of moons too. That's just something to also be aware of. So we'll look at Saturn in astrology, Saturn cycles, dialing more deeply into Saturn and astrology, what it means. We'll look at Aries zodiac sign and this first degree of Aries more deeply. And we're going to look at Aries in medical astrology and Saturn in medical astrology. And Saturn, I really see as a planet of embodiment. So I'm going to share with you visually more about how I am putting together how astrology works and how we embody physically the astrology based on the ancient Vedic tradition, Jyotish, the science of light, what I'm learning about medical astrology, and also what I'm seeing in my Reiki journeys when working with the astrology and the planets and working very consciously. So we will talk more about that. It's very, very fascinating how this works. We'll also be sharing how I'm seeing our light body evolving and what this means. So laying out that and looking at that a bit more specifically and in depth. So we'll look at Saturn and Aries in medical astrology, what that means, what to know about that. We'll look at the key dates of Saturn this year and into next year. We will explore Saturn in esoteric astrology. I'm really, really excited to talk more about Saturn in medical astrology and Saturn in esoteric astrology because Saturn is a planet that often gets poo-pooed, the greater malefic, and there can be a lot of resistance to even work with Saturn and to engage with the higher frequencies, but there is a lot there for us to learn about and engage in some alternative perspectives, Saturn and esoteric astrology. We are also going to look at Saturn in each of the 12 signs. So we'll look at Saturn in each of the 12 signs from an evolutionary perspective, medical astrology, what does it mean? And also an esoteric astrology, what does Saturn in each of the signs mean? And then I'm really excited in our Reiki journey. We are going to be journeying to the 28th to 30th heavens of consciousness. And this is where we journeyed to in our last class. This has to do with Saturn's orbital period around the sun is 29.4 years. And the heavens of consciousness are Reiki realms. So these are these enlightened realms, enlightened heavens of consciousness. It's like dimensions, but these are enlightened realms. So many people talk about going to like the fifth dimension or sixth dimension, ninth dimension, 12th dimension. We are going all the way to the 28th and 30th dimensions, but these are non-dual realms. These are enlightened realms where all there is love and light in the higher frequencies. So we are engaging with Saturn, the planet, at this level of consciousness. So in the journey, there will be an opportunity to commune with your natal Saturn in your own zodiac sign, your house placement, your aspects. If you know those, and if you don't, that's okay. You will at least know your natal Saturn's zodiac sign. You will be invited to harmonize with the higher frequencies of your Saturn. There will be an opportunity to explore Saturn's moons. As I said, Saturn has so many moons. Saturn is like its own mini little solar system. Just amazing. And also Saturn's rings of light. You will have an opportunity to receive the blue sapphire of Saturn, the violet ray of Saturn, any other gifts specific to you that Saturn is wishing to gift you in exchange with you, waking up the ancient future wisdom of your soul and spirit. And then there will also be an opportunity for a soft, gentle, graceful, easy, loving, clear, and smooth embodied integration and empowerment of your inner authority and your healthy, healed, pure ego and the sacred adventure of your life. And as the class title says, Courageous Spirit Embodied, really receive the activation of your courageous spirit embodied as well. So, really, really excited about this class. And you can read more about it here on this page. Really, this class is for you. If you want to explore space, you want to go to outer space, but in the context of a safe Reiki journey, then this is for you. If you feel like a starseed or you're having an awakening experience of more of your galactic nature, your cosmic energy, this is for you. If you're wanting to step into more of your leadership, more of your power, more of your direction, this is for you. If you're having a Saturn return, first Saturn return around age 29, second Saturn return around age 59, this is also for you. And it's also for Saturn and all the different zodiac signs and all the different aspects. So really, really welcome you to explore the class. And as I said, even if you're not guided to this class, find some way to be in authentic ritual with Saturn as Saturn enters Aries, to know that Neptune's there as well, softening and inviting in really a more spiritual, watery side of Saturn. Saturn is very earthly, material planet, but being co-present with Neptune, planet of the sea and the water and the non-physical reality, it's like these two opposites really coming together in the fire, the co-creative fire of Aries. This is a massive activation moment, and I just invite you to tap into the higher frequencies of it. Don't be afraid. unafraid. That's really coming through here. There's nothing to be afraid of. Be in the power of peace, the power of love, the power of your soul and your spirit, rooting deeply into the ancient wisdom, reaching out into the future, into the galactic, into the cosmos, into the stars, and into the heavens, and knowing that you are that bridge between heaven and earth. You are heaven on earth embodied. You are the ancient wisdom and the future wisdom embodied within you, and you have all that you need inside you for the sacred path and journey and adventure of your life. So may Saturn ingress Aries be the most beautiful experience of expanding consciousness, inviting in more love, inviting in more peace and clarity for you, your relationships, your life, for this beautiful planet Earth and beyond. Aho, amen, namaste. It is true, and so it is. Mahalo.